Hello, my dear students. I know your exams are just around the corner and you're all studying so hard. But please, don't you worry. Today, we are going to tackle one of the most important chapters in civics, what is democracy, why democracy, and make it super easy. In just a few minutes, I promise you these concepts will be so clear you'll be ready for any question. Are you ready? Chalo, let's begin.
So, let's start with the big question. What is democracy? I mean, you hear this word all the time, on the news, in books, everywhere. But what does it really truly mean? Let's dig in and get to the heart of it together. Of course, we all know this famous line from Abraham Lincoln. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's a beautiful thought, and it's a great place to start. But you know what? It's not the full picture. Here's the tricky part. So many countries around the world call themselves democracies. They hold elections and everything, but are they all really democratic? Let's put on our detective hats and find out how to spot a real democracy from one that's just pretending.
So, how do we do that? Well, we have 4 simple tests. Think of it like a checklist. A country has to pass all 4 of these tests to get the real democracy certificate from us. Now pay close attention, Bacho, because this is a very important part of your chapter.
Okay, test number 1. This is the most basic rule. In a real democracy, the people who are making the big, important decisions, the final calls, must be the leaders that we, the people, have actually voted for. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Let's see what happens when this rule is broken.
Let's open our first case file. Pakistan in 1999. General Pervez Musharraf, who was the head of the army, took over the country in a military coup. Now, there were still some elected leaders, but the real power, the final say, was with the army and General Musharraf. So ask yourself, were the real rulers elected by the people? Nope. And that's why, in this case, Pakistan failed test number 1. All right, moving on to test number 2. This one is all about elections. You see, it's not enough to just have elections. Those elections have to be free and fair. What does that mean? It means there must be a real choice, a real competition. Let's look at 2 more case files. First, China. Yes, they have elections, but you can only vote for candidates from one party, the Communist Party. Is that a real choice? Not really. Then you have the story of Mexico, where for about 70 years, one single party, the PRI, always won elections by using all sorts of dirty tricks. So even though other parties were there, they never really stood a chance. Both of these are examples of failing test number 2.
Okay, pen and paper time. For your exams, this is the key definition you need to remember. A democracy must be based on a free and fair election, where those who are currently in power have a fair chance of losing. It's this chance of being voted out that keeps our leaders on their toes. Make a note of this one for sure.
Now for test number 3. This is a beautiful and simple idea. Political equality. It means every single adult citizen gets 1 vote, and every single vote has exactly the same value. 1 person, 1 vote, 1 value. Simple. But you know, this simple rule has been broken in many places. Can you believe it? Until 2015, women in Saudi Arabia couldn't even vote. And look at Fiji, where the voting system was such that the vote of an original Fijian was worth more than the vote of an Indian Fijian. Does that sound fair to you? Of course not. A true democracy believes every citizen is equal. And here we are at our final test, number 4. This is about limits on power. So let's say a party wins the election with a huge majority. Does that mean it can do whatever it wants? No way. A democratic government must follow the rules of the country, the Constitution, and it must respect the basic rights of every single citizen.
Our last case file is Zimbabwe. The party of Robert Mugabe was very popular and won many elections, but over the years they changed the constitution to make the president more powerful. They controlled the media and they didn't listen to the courts. So the lesson here is very important. Just being popular isn't enough. A government must respect the law and the rights of its people to be truly democratic.
Phew. Okay. Great job, everyone. We now know the 4 tests to spot a real democracy. But that brings us to the next big question in your chapter, and this one is a classic exam question, mind you. Is democracy actually the best form of government? Let's get into the debate. So, let's put them head to head. In one corner, we have the arguments against democracy. People say it leads to instability, delays, corruption. And in the other corner, we have the arguments for democracy, that it's more accountable, makes better decisions, and gives dignity to people. Let's break this down. Now, let's be honest.
Democracy is not a magic wand that solves all problems, is it? Leaders keep changing, which can be unstable. Things take a long time because so many people have to be consulted. And yes, sometimes there is corruption and bad decisions are made. These are all real problems that we have to accept.
So if you're thinking, well, if it has so many problems, why do we even say it's better? That's a great question. And the answer comes not from theory, but from a very powerful real-life story. Let's have a look.
Let's travel back in time. The years are between 1958 and 1961. We have two huge neighboring countries, India and China. Both were facing tough economic times, but what happened next in each country was dramatically different.
During those years, China had the worst recorded famine in world history. Almost 3 crore people died. 3 crore. Can you imagine? During the same time, India also had food shortages, but nothing like this ever happened here. Why? Well, experts say it's because India is a democracy. We had a free press and opposition parties that could criticize the government. The government had to respond to the people's needs or they knew they would be voted out. The government in China had no such pressure.
And that powerful story shows us exactly why democracy, with all its faults, is still the winner. It forces governments to be more accountable. It leads to better decisions because of all the discussion. For a country like India, with so much diversity, it's the best way to manage differences peacefully. Most importantly, it gives dignity to every single citizen. And it allows us to correct our mistakes. If you get a question on this in your exam, bachcho, these 5 points are your golden ticket.
Okay, we're almost at the end, but there's one last idea, and it's the most important one. Democracy isn't just something that happens in Delhi in the parliament. It's not just about voting every 5 years. It's about you. It's about me. It's about us.
Look at this fantastic cartoon by the legendary R.K. Laxman. It shows the common man, years after our country became independent, still waiting for the promises of a better life. This tells us something very powerful. Having a democracy is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a journey that we are all on together.
And that, my dear students, is the biggest lesson of this chapter. The future of our democracy, its health, its strength, it does not just depend on our leaders. It depends on what we do as citizens who are aware, who participate, and who care.
So, as I finish, I want to leave you with a question to think about. As you grow up, as you become the voters and leaders of tomorrow, what kind of citizen will you choose to be? The answer to that question will decide the future of our beautiful country. I know you will all make it stronger. All the very best for your exams. You are going to be fantastic.